Is that a slight chill in the air? What's that I smell? Pumpkin spice? Warm apple cider? I can almost hear the leaves crunching underneath my feet. It's almost the Burr months, which means fall and winter are quickly approaching. And that means it's time to project plan. Hello friends, my name is McKenna and this is Knit Between the Lines. This is a podcast where I talk about what I'm spinning, what I'm knitting on, and where I chat about my love for fiber arts. Today, we're doing a pattern roundup to project plan for fall and winter. I have several patterns, plans, and aspirations to share with you today. So grab your project and let's get into it. All right, so we're gonna do this by categories. The first category we wanna talk about today is sweaters. The first pattern I wanna talk about today is the Rhue sweater by Rebecca Clow from the Khoi. Kitty break, just passing through. This is a gorgeous DK weight colorwork sweater. It is worked from the top down in a contiguous construction. This allows you to shape the shoulders and the sleeves before you join in the round and do raglan increases. The colorwork doesn't begin until you start the raglan increases, but then goes throughout the rest of the body. You'll notice that the top starts in one color and it gradually transitions into a second color down at the bottom. This of course is optional. You do have the option of having the top portion and the hem being the same color and just having the contrast color being the colorwork motif itself. I actually plan on making 2 of these sweaters, one for me and one for my husband, Cameron. For me, I'm gonna be knitting the size 6, which gives me a bust measurement of 47 inches. This should give me a little over 2 inches of positive ease, which is the recommended ease for the pattern. The pattern recommends 2 to 3 inches of positive ease. I am using Explorer Knits and Fibers Earthy DK in Snout for my top color, and then it'll gradually transition into Woolly for the colorwork and the bottom hem. I think this is absolutely gorgeous. I fell in love with these colors during their monochrome collection and knew I had to snag it. Rebecca was teasing this sweater when the monochrome collection was first coming out, and she was super nice when I messaged her and I said, hey, I wanna buy from the monochrome collection to make your Rhue sweater. Do you have an idea of yardage that I will need for X size? And she said, of course, here you go. Granted, it might change slightly after testing, and I said, no problem. So I snagged these 2 colors for mine, and I think this is going to be so lovely. I can't wait to knit this up. For my husband, I will be knitting the size 8, which is a chest measurement of 53.5. My husband's chest measurement is 50, so this will give him about 3.5 inches of positive ease. He has slightly more sensitive skin, so he did not want the non-superwash base, which was the Earthy DK that I am using for mine. So we decided to go for the Rockies DK, which is their superwash base from Explorer Knits. His colors are also from the monochrome collection, but for his main color, which will be the top color, is Forest Floor, which is this beautiful olive green tone. And then he also chose Woolly as his contrast color and hem color. I think these are gonna look so nice together. I also think our matching sweaters are gonna be super, super cute. This will be the first sweater that I have knit for my husband, and he is super excited. The next pattern I want to talk to you about in our sweater category is the Something Cozy by Shania Bilow. This pattern is very much a cozy sweatshirt kind of pattern. This is meant to be an oversized crop pullover, and it is actually made separately. So you will knit the front and the back separately and then seam them together. This allows for some extra structure in your garment. This pattern has a lot of intended ease. I plan on using the size 2, which is going to be giving me a chest measurement of 76 inches, which is several inches of positive ease. This is only the second size option, so it definitely can fit a wide range of bust measurements, which is amazing. The highest bust measurement it actually goes up to is 88 inches, so definitely a wide range. I plan on using the recommended yarn, which is from Chelsea Luxe Yarns. So I will be using Chelsea Luxe Cozy DK in Sea Glass, which is a very pretty boucle base in this seafoam green with these teal, brown, and orange speckles. And you hold it together with a mohair. I also have Chelsea Luxe's mohair in the complementary color Sea Glass to hold together. As you can see, the mohair has a lot more of that purple in it and less of the green, but I think these will still look really beautiful together. I was able to purchase these from Cake Palooza back in October before Rhinebeck, and Chelsea was one of the vendors. So I was able to snag these when I was at her booth. This pattern is just perfect for fall into winter because it's oversized, it's gonna be super soft and give big sweatshirt vibes. I can't wait to wear this sweater cozied up on my couch with a blanket and a cup of hot chocolate. The next pattern I want to touch base on for fall and winter plans and aspirations is the Traveler Hoodie by Andrea Mowry. This is a actual hoodie pattern that is using sport weight yarn in her garter stitch, alternating garter stitch stockinette motif that she has released several different patterns on in the last year. This is a cropped hoodie that she designed specifically to be able to throw on and have something cozy to wear while she's traveling. This comes in two options. It comes in the hoodie, which has a hood and an I-cord string, as well as just a regular crew neck option. This hoodie is knit from the bottom up and almost seamlessly. The body is worked in the round until you get to the underarms, which you will split for the front and the back and seam the shoulders together. The shoulders are seamed using a 3 needle bind off, which gives you a beautiful exposed seam detail. I plan to knit the size 5, which is going to be giving me about 9 inches of positive ease. I am about a 45-inch bust, and the size 5 has a finished measurement of 54 inches. This pattern does call for sport weight, but I am going to be gauge swatching with some yarn in my stash that I hope will work because I have plenty of it from a failed test knit that I wasn't able to finish due to time constraints, choosing the wrong size, and so many other obstacles. So I hope to be able to use this beautiful yarn, which is Knit Picks Gloss in the colorway Wharf. This is a little bit of a thicker fingering weight because it is a manufactured yarn. Hand-dyed yarn tends to be on the thinner side, whereas manufactured yarn tends to be slightly thicker. So I'm hoping that maybe this will hit gauge, considering she used hand-dyed yarn in this pattern for her sample. The next sweater in this section is the Khoi Pullover by Ozuko. This is a top-down V-neck pullover that uses intarsia color work. It is a asymmetrical color block intarsia pattern. So you have a strip of color work on the collar, and then on the opposite corner down at the bottom, you have a block of your contrast color, and as well as a block on one elbow. This pattern advertises itself as perfect for beginners in intarsia, which I myself am. I have only ever done stranded color work, so this will be super exciting. This pattern utilizes DK weight yarn, and it's amazing because for the contrast color, you only need 1 skein, or roughly 230 yards, and that's across all sizes. The suggested ease for this pattern is 6 to 8 inches. That being said, I will be knitting the size 5, which gives a finished bust measurement of 52 inches, which should give me around 7 inches of positive ease at the end. For my colors, I plan to use Explorer Knits and Fibers Rockies DK. These are actually also 2 colors from their monochrome collection that I was able to snag earlier this year. So for my main color, I will be using Drift in Rockies DK. This is a beautiful like blue-gray color. And for my contrast color, I will be using this, which is To the Stars Who Listen, also in their Rockies DK. Rockies DK is their superwash base, which is 100% superwash merino. I think this will look absolutely lovely. This is a colorway I just couldn't pass up because not only is it ACOTAR inspired and I'm a big fantasy reader, but I absolutely love this blue-green color. And I wanted something in it, but I didn't know what. And Ozuko released this pattern with Wandering Flock, and I knew I had to snag this color for my contrast color for this pattern. So super excited to knit this. All right, so the last sweater in our sweater category is the Farnham sweater by the Knit Purl Girl. This is a oversized drop shoulder sweater with a funnel rolled neckline using sport weight yarn. It is worked top down and in the round as well as flat. The sleeves have a slight taper to them, and it utilizes German short rows to raise up the neck in the back. As you can see, this pattern feels absolutely beautiful and feels very classic and timeless. I love the very thin stripes that go all the way through the pattern, as well as the shoulder detailing. As you can see that the stripes line up in these beautiful V's down the shoulder. The suggested ease for this pattern is 13 12.75 inches to 15.75 inches. I plan to knit the size H, which is going to give me a finished bust measurement of 59 inches with a positive ease of 14 inches, which is right in the middle of the positive ease suggested. Now for my yarn that I chose the classic sport base from Sorella Yarns. This is some beautiful yarn that I was able to snag from a update that they had. I can't remember the name of the collection off the top of my head, but for my main color, I plan to use this beautiful green, which is called Upstate. And then for my contrasting color to use for the stripes, I plan to use this beautiful white called Ceramic. I think this is going to look absolutely lovely. As you can tell, I'm a fan of this color combination, so I know I'm gonna absolutely love this finished product. All right, so our next category is cardigans. I only have 2 patterns listed in this category, so let's get into it. All right, so the first pattern I wanna mention is the one and the only Champagne Cardigan by Petite Knit. This pattern uses a worsted weight yarn, and it is worked from the top down using raglan increases, achieving a beautiful deep V neckline. The button band is achieved using double knitting. The suggested ease for this design is 11 inches. So I personally will be knitting the size 2XL, which should be giving me pretty much exactly the recommended ease. Typically for this pattern, you would use a DK weight yarn and hold it together with a strand of mohair, achieving the worsted weight gauge. I personally have chosen just a regular worsted weight yarn, and mine is from Rhue Loco, and it is on her Merino worsted in her Fireside colorway. This is a beautiful burnt orange color that just, I feel like, screams fall. And I'm definitely in need of more cardigans in my wardrobe. And I definitely feel like this is going to be a staple that I will grab for again and again. I have heard that this pattern is kind of a slog, but is one of those patterns that is definitely worth the effort. My second and last cardigan pattern that I want to talk to you about today is the Pressed Flowers cardigan by Amy Christoffers. This cardigan is worked from the bottom up and then split for the front and the back worked separately. You will seam the shoulders together and then work the sleeves. This cardigan uses mosaic knitting, which means you'll only ever be knitting with one color at a time. This typically happens by knitting with your main color and then slipping your contrast color in pattern. And then when you go to the next row, you'll knit your contrast color and slip your main color. This is a V-neck cardigan with all over mosaic knitting, and the intended positive ease is 6 inches. When you bind off the shoulders, you do have the option of including short rows before you bind them off to kind of raise up that back neck just a little bit to achieve the fit that you are wanting. The overall mosaic patterning is charted in the pattern, which just makes it a little bit easier to work the motif. This pattern also utilizes sport weight yarn. I have actually already casted this project on and have been working on it for a little bit now. The yarn that I chose is actually the suggested yarn in the pattern, which is from Spin Cycle. For my main color, I chose Spin Cycle Wilder in light gray, which is this beautiful soft light gray, which I feel like goes with anything. For my contrast color, I chose Dyed in the Wool Straw Flowers, which is this beautiful, beautiful skein. I absolutely love the super dark blues, the bright yellows, and then the gorgeous brick reds and corals. This is proving to be an absolute beautiful project that I can't put down. Highly recommend. The next category I want to talk to you guys about today is the vest category. For me personally, I only have one pattern listed in this category, which is the Lauder vest by Rebecca Clow. This pattern is amazing, and in true Rebecca Clow fashion, it has every option you could ever desire. You have your vest option, you have a V-neck sweater option, you have a round neck option, as well as a cardigan option. This is a beautiful cabled pattern. I personally have chose the vest option, but I do hope to knit the round neck long sleeve sweater option as well. This sweater has a beautiful cable detailing right along the neckline, which is ultimately what caused me to choose this pattern. This pattern is knit from the top down and is seamless. And once you purchase this pattern, you will have access to all of the options available. And this pattern is knit up using DK weight yarn. As I said, I do plan to knit up the vest. I plan to use Magpie Fibers Swinky DK and Follow You Into the Dark, which is this really beautiful blue-green color, which, as you can tell, is definitely a fan favorite on Knit Between the Lines. This base is so squishy and so soft. I know it is a little dark, which means the cable pattern might be a little hidden, but I think it'll just give a very classic sweater vest vibe that I am looking for. Swinky DK has a fiber composition of 80% merino wool, 10% cashmere, and 10% nylon. I think this will be an absolutely lovely base to knit the Lauder vest in. All right, time for our last category, which is shawls. The first shawl in this category is the beautiful Nightshift shawl by Andrea Mowry. This is a beautiful mosaic knitted triangular shawl using Aran weight yarn. In this pattern, Andrea Mowry uses Dream State from Spin Cycle in 6 different colors. This shawl, I feel like, is an absolute classic in the knitting community. It is absolutely gorgeous. Andrea Mowry has such an eye for color, as you can see in her sample. I was actually able to purchase a kit from Port Fiber in Portland, Maine, that is the original colors that Andrea used in her sample. I believe the colors that they chose for this kit are as close as they could get to the original colors. As we know, Spin Cycle yarns, every skein is different, so it's kind of hard to get the exact same look as the sample that is used in a pattern. So the colors that I'm using for my Nightshift shawl, which are the same colors that Andrea used in hers, are Melancholia, Shades of the Earth, Deep Bump, Salty Dog, Rusted Rainbow, and Nostalgia. And here they are. I can't wait to knit this shawl. I feel like these colors just scream fall, and I can't wait to wrap up in the shawl with my trench coat, especially here in the Pacific Northwest when it gets nice and chilly and crispy. The wingspan ends up being about 65 inches wide, and the center depth ends up being about 31 inches deep. And it is all finished at the end with a beautiful I-cord edging. The next shawl I want to talk to you about is the Traveler shawl, also by Andrea Mowry. This pattern comes in 2 different sizes, a smaller option and a larger option. Andrea knit her samples in her hand spun, so she gives you options of a sport weight and a DK weight option as well. The smaller option has a 75-inch width and has a 24-inch center depth. The larger size has a 91.5-inch width and a 25-inch center depth. This uses her iconic Traveler textured pattern, which is a garter and stockinette striped motif. I plan to knit the smaller sized option with a kit that I was able to purchase from Lobby Anime. I purchased their dusk kit, which includes this beautiful color, Sansa, in their Felix base, which is made out of 75% Falkland Merino and 25% Corriedale. I will hold this together with their beautiful skein Kumo, which is 74% baby alpaca and 26% mulberry silk, in the colorway Dusk. This is gorgeous, and I am so excited to knit this up. I feel like this is going to be such a beautiful neutral shawl with some slight color pops in it that I will be able to grab and throw on with absolutely anything in my wardrobe. The last and final pattern in our pattern roundup is the Attune shawl, also by Andrea Mowry, the absolute queen of shawl knitting, in my personal opinion. This shawl is knit from the top down using half fisherman's rib and brioche. These 2 stitch patterns are different from one another, but give a very similar look. In the pattern, she mentions that you can achieve different sizes and gauge and different drape by choosing different weights of yarn. The suggested yarn weight is a sport, but you could probably get away with a DK weight or a fingering weight. She does suggest 3 different colors of Spin Cycle dyed in the wool, as well as a main color. She advertises that this shawl is very adaptable to your size preferences. So the measurements that she lists for final width and center depth are different because one sample is using DK weight yarn and one sample is using sport weight yarn. For me personally, I chose for my main color Malabrigo Sock in Jasmine, which is this really beautiful, soft, sagey green color. And for my contrast colors, I chose, of course, Spin Cycle Dyed in the Wool. I chose Lathe, and then Family Jewels, and then finally the Meadows. I think these are gonna look absolutely gorgeous, especially with this sagey green Malabrigo color. Again, as we can tell, I do love a good green. I've had these yarns in my stash for quite a while, but I'm super excited to knit up this shawl. I do not have much brioche experience, and I do not have much half fisherman rib experience. So I think by knitting a shawl where size and gauge don't necessarily matter will be a good introduction to those stitch patterns. All right, friends, and that's all the patterns I have for you today. Obviously, there's no way that I can knit all of these patterns in fall and winter. I'm definitely gonna try my hardest because as you can see, I do have yarn for all of them, but worst case scenario, these will either get pushed back to different seasons or next fall and winter. If you have any pattern suggestions that you are looking forward to knitting this fall and winter, please drop them below in the comment box. I would love to get inspiration from you guys and hear what you guys plan to knit this coming season. If you liked this kind of project aspiration planning video, please let me know down in the comment box below. I would love to make more pattern roundup videos for spring and summer. Thank you all for stopping at my little crafty corner of YouTube and sharing your time with me. See you next time. Bye.